I bought Blade and Sorcery, so now you have to. Why? Because Blade and Sorcery is some of the most fun I've had in a VR game for a long time, from both its sandbox and dungeon crawling modes to its extensive weapon and armor selection to its magic system and how it interacts with the game's physics. Blade and Sorcery provides a refreshing amount of freedom for a game in a medium where freedom is often forgotten about. So, assuming that you either own or want a VR headset, let me show you why you shouldn't be sleeping on this game like I did. For starters, Blade and Sorcery has a killer main menu. Think I'm kidding? Look around at the insane skybox. There's a humbling and exciting feeling looking at a looming gas giant or a distant supernova while this bombastic music plays. I spent a lot of my time playing the Crystal Hunt game mode, the closest thing this game has to a campaign mode. The premise of the entire mode is super simple. Start with a small home and some rusty weapons, raid dungeons and tackle arenas to get money for better gear, and use that gear to beat the golem bosses to attain magic powers. In any other game, that simplicity might be boring, but here it allows the VR elements of the game to shine. Let me take you through an example of a mid-game arena I played through. Arenas are essentially short wave-based battles that award a decent amount of coin depending on the difficulty of the battle. They always start off easy enough. Enemies come in light or no armor to act as the fodder to warm you up. But as you progress further in the Crystal Hunt, new factions of enemies appear in the arena, and with them, greater challenges. By the time I took on the arena, I was pretty comfortable with the Greatsword, as its length and power made it easier to deal with a wide array of foes. And so I started this arena like I had before, heating my Greatsword with Pyromancy and preparing to chew through the waves. Almost instantly though, I hit a snag. The first enemy I swung at was apparently some kind of loot goblin, because as soon as my sword made contact, both it and the goblin disappeared. Now, while in reality this was probably some kind of funny physics bug, it's probably one of the best things that happened to me in this game. I mentioned before that I had grown comfortable with the Greatsword, but that comfort also meant that I wasn't really using any of the other weapons. The only ones I kept on me were the throwing daggers, but I wasn't any good with them at that point. Being forced by the game to adapt to new weapons in this arena was like opening up a new world for me. I was forced to switch between multiple weapons and use magic I had collected but never relied on, using completely new tactics to deal with groups of enemies and break through their guard. While the chaos of the arena was brief, I realized I didn't want to confine myself anymore to just the Greatsword. Previously, I stated the difficulty of enemies changed with player progression and enemy faction, and that difficulty mainly comes in the form of armored enemies, and it was here that Blade and Sorcery really surprised me. In so many fantasy games, armor acts as both a cosmetic enhancement and a stat booster, meaning that it often doesn't change how you deal with an enemy more than it determines how many hits they can take. In Blade and Sorcery, armor actually works as, well, armor. If you aren't precise with your hits, the armor will mostly negate the damage of your swing, nullify the cutting elements of bladed weapons, and physically stop your strike mid-swing. So you either have to carefully target weak points where the enemy isn't unarmored, hit them with your magic, or bash them to death with blunt weapons. And all this is easier said than done, as your enemies hit you with their own attacks, both physical and magical, forcing you to balance priority targets and dangers both close and far. Again, these new enemies forced me to look at the tools I had in a brand new light. For instance, the Greatsword, still a part of my arsenal, can be used to slash at weak points or to bash in armor, or if heated with Pyromancy, can puncture straight through armor and shields like hot butter. Gravity magic can be used to push back enemies, either to break their guard or force them off of high places, and, if imbued on a weapon, can cause them to become weightless, leaving them vulnerable. It can even make heavy weapons lighter, or remove the effect of gravity on arrows and daggers, opening up even more gameplay options. After the chaos of the arena, I went back to dungeon crawling, which is the main meat of the Crystal Hunt mode. The dungeons are basically a tile-based treasure hunt, and by tile-based I mean that each dungeon is made up of a number of rooms or tiles, each with their own layout along with randomly generated enemy spawns and loot. This means that you'll encounter the same rooms over and over again if you play enough, but the specific encounters within them will be much more unique. Depending on the layout of the room, encounters can be approached in a number of different ways, from your typical Skyrim stealth archer to straight brawling through, which can sound an alarm and draw in a huge group of enemies, to dashing straight through at the risk of missing out on loot. My favorite of these are the Dalgarian ruins, not only because of their more difficult encounters or even the golem boss at the end of each one, but for their outstanding beauty and sense of scale. I'm a sucker for ancient ruins in video games, and VR amplifies the overwhelming and mysterious nature of these places in the best way. One of the most harrowing moments I had in this game didn't come from combat, but from having to traverse this massive pit where one small mistake, climbing down these awful rickety ladders or swinging from ropes, could lead to my doom. The scale of everything is what sells these ruins. You'll cross massive bridges and see towering statues in the distance, or scale cliffs before descending down upon unsuspecting foes, or fill a massive lake with water and experience some mild thalassophobia. All these elements make the ruins among the most memorable parts of the game, and adventuring through them was a blast. Speaking of memorable, and minor spoilers ahead, is the golem boss I mentioned before. Being the only boss currently in the game, the golem boss has a lot of pressure on it, as you'll have to face it again and again to acquire the crystal cores that allow you to have magic. The first time you encounter it, at least in my experience, it isn't able to do a whole lot. It uses a combination of melee attacks and rock throwing as you bounce around the arena, attacking the crystal cores that are its weak points and the larger shielding crystals around the arena that protect them. This early simplicity is perfect because the first fight I found pretty difficult due to a combination of not knowing what the boss could do and from still figuring out my own limits within VR. As an experienced player, you can physically dodge the golem's melee attacks, whether it be jumping over them or dashing in between its legs. The golem itself is fully climbable, allowing you to latch on like a mad leech and crawl your way up its body while it madly swings around trying to knock you off. These elements and more make the golem just as much a part of the VR sandbox as other enemies, giving a huge amount of freedom in how to approach it. As you defeat the golem more and more and acquire magic powers, so too will it power up. It will start blasting fire or shooting out lightning, for instance, matching the magic that you chose previously. While still a fairly easy fight once you know what you're doing, these elements help keep it fresh as you replay it. All of these elements are why I love Blade & Sorcery, because not many games, VR or not, allow you to have this much freedom when interacting with enemies or the environment. You can use any combination of weapons, magic, and physics to deal with a fairly diverse cast of foes that will challenge your on-the-spot reactivity and the tools you've chosen, making fights always engaging and entertaining to play through. Of course, if you want to spice things up, there are plenty of mods too. From Star Wars overhauls to new magic types, Blade & Sorcery has given a wealth of extra content provided by a dedicated modding community. These things are just a small taste of why you should try Blade & Sorcery, provided you have or want a VR headset. It really is one of the most fun experiences I've had in VR. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.